What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Shelves. If this is your first time visiting this channel or this video series, this is basically my monthly Blu-ray and DVD update haul video where I talk about all the Blu-rays and DVDs I've gotten over the past month and give my quick little reviews on them and say whether or not you guys should skip it, see it on Netflix, or go out and buy it. As always with my Off the Shelves videos, all of the videos that all the movies rather that I'm going to be talking about in this video, I'm going to post an Amazon affiliate link for each and every one down in the description of the video below. So if you're interested in checking out some of these movies or adding them to your collection, please use these links down below. It's a great way to help out my channel without having to do anything extra whatsoever, just adding cool movies to your collection. If you go to use this link and it takes you to Amazon.com, even if you don't buy one of these Blu-rays, if you use the link that I provided, whatever you decide to get on Amazon.com will still give me a kickback. So really great way to support this channel. I appreciate it very much. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just talk about these Blu-rays. I got a pretty decent haul this month, and we'll start with TV for a change. I usually end on TV, but we'll start with TV. And I've got Ash vs. the Evil Dead 2, Season 2. I really loved the first season of this show. I'm a pretty big fan, more of a casual fan of Evil Dead, but I'm a pretty big fan of Army of Darkness and parts of Evil Dead 2. It's just, it took a long time for me to get used to the Evil Dead flavor. I think that the style that they use in this TV show is probably my favorite of anything that they've done in the Evil Dead so far regarding the Ash Williams character. I think that it's very faithful to the Evil Dead 2 stuff, but it has a lot of Army of Darkness style humor in it. And to me, it's just like this perfect meld of those two styles. So I haven't got a chance to check out this season yet, but I'm a huge fan of season 1. I'm sure this is going to be just as good, if not better. So first season for sure is to go out and buy it. This one, stay tuned. I'll have to let you know later on. But very cool release, cool steelbook from Best Buy as well. Moving on from that, I got 2 Batman animated movies, which I'll kind of review together. But one of them is going to be my pick of the month. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way right now because this is one of my favorite Batman movies of all time. It's never talked about. I'm surprised this thing has even got a Blu-ray release, which is why it's my pick of the month. Because something like this feels like it should just be lost forever. It feels like it should kind of disappear into obscurity. It feels like it should be something that kind of gets forgotten, that once in a great while you'll see somebody that's like, remember that? And that is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. This is one of the best Batman stories and one of the best animated movies you're gonna find. It's a really cool story. It's kind of like a story that kind of carries on the Batman animated series, which is one of my favorite animated series of all time. They create their own villain, the Phantasm, and it's one of the best Batman villains. I would love to see a live action adaptation of that villain. Probably never gonna happen, but you know, when you hear the words create their own villain, you usually get nervous because it never really ends up going that well. This is how you do it. Great story, great animation, absolutely love it. Go out and buy the shit out of this. After that, I had bought that one and I was like, you know, let me try out some more DC animation because I hear the animation side of DC is actually pretty damn good. So I also picked up Batman Under the Red Hood. I've actually read this comic series. I own it. It's behind this green screen right here. And it's a pretty cool little comic series here. It's talking about this new villain called the Red Hood who kind of comes in, is trying to take over the mob, and he's also killing off different enemies instead of being like vigilante justice, basically killing them off instead of putting them in jail. And I'm not going to spoil the storyline. If you're a comic book fan, you already know what the twist and everything like that is, but pretty cool animation, pretty cool voice acting. I love that Jensen Ackles is the voice of Red Hood. As soon as I heard it, I was like, Dean is in this. That's awesome. So this was actually really good. It's not on the par of Mask of the Phantasm good, but definitely good. And it was like $7. And I think it's still $7 on Amazon. So click that link as soon as you can and go out and buy this. And check out the comic series too. The comic series is pretty cool. Now these 4 here, I'm going to talk about all together because they are basically Best Buy exclusives right now. And it is these little Blu-ray releases of these different comedies. You've got Basketball, which is, everybody knows, is the live action movie by the 2 guys that made South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker. You got Bowfinger, you've got Ed TV, and you've got Problem Child. Now, Problem Child was the only one of these 4 that I had seen before, and this is a really funny movie with John Ritter, basically where they adopt this kid, and he's basically Satan. Every single orphanage gets rid of him, every single foster parent takes him back. He's a little hellion, and it's basically about John Ritter learning how to be a father, and also the kid kind of learning not to be a little asshole. And it's a really funny movie. So this is actually a comedy classic to me. I would definitely say go out and buy this. These two, Ed TV and Basketball, I've seen pieces of Basketball. I've never seen anything of Ed TV, but I like everybody that's involved, so I took a shot on it. I don't have a rating for these because I haven't rewatched them since I bought it, but I do think that these, for the price, they were like $7. If you're fans of them, definitely go pick them up at Best Buy. And like a month after that, probably like 3-4 weeks from now, they'll be on Amazon and everything. And Bowfinger is a movie I never saw before until about 2 nights ago. Now, this movie, my dad is the only person in the world I've ever had give me like an opinion on this movie that I've talked to. Everybody else seems to love this movie and say it's a comedy classic. My dad always told me it was stupid, so I never watched it. I took a chance on it because I was kind of craving some older Eddie Murphy, and I like Steve Martin a lot. And I kind of fell somewhere in the middle. Some things about this movie I thought were really funny. Some things about it I thought were really stupid. So it's kind of like this weird middle ground between the general opinion of this movie and my father's opinion. So basically the plot of this movie, you've got Bowfinger, who is Steve Martin. He's this down on his luck director. He's trying to make this big budget movie to try to get back into the scene. And he's trying to hire Eddie Murphy, who's basically like the big movie star of the time. Eddie Murphy doesn't want anything to do with it, so he comes up with this plot to shoot the movie around Eddie Murphy while Eddie Murphy is just carrying on with his everyday life and doesn't realize he's on film. So it's kind of, it puts it in a lot of funny situations. So that was the funnier aspects of the movie to me. That and the scenes between Steve Martin and Heather Graham, who's kind of like this up-and-coming actress in this. Where it got stupid for me was when Eddie Murphy comes in as this version of Eddie Murphy, which is like his stupid twin brother. And some things about him, it was kind of goofy in a way when it first started, but some things with him, it just got real stupid. So this is a see it on Netflix all day long. If you're a fan of Eddie Murphy or Steve Martin, check it out, but it's gonna be one side or the other. You're either gonna really like it or really dislike it. So check it out on Netflix. This one is actually gonna be a movie I'm gonna be reviewing very soon because one of my patrons, Michael Mims, chose this as his patron requested review, Red Heat. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth with this because I don't want to spoil my review. I'm not even going to give it a rating. I'll just tell you about the movie. This is an old kind of Walter Hill film. This is the guy who directed like The Warriors, probably his most famous movie. And this is like a buddy cop movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger is playing a Russian, and then you got James Belushi playing kind of the roughneck, loudmouth cop. So they're trying to hunt down this drug dealer criminal. That's basically all you need to know about the movie. It's a buddy cop movie. You pretty much know everything that's going to happen. I have not seen this movie in years. My dad has always loved it. I always remember it for certain scenes, especially James Belushi, because I've always loved that guy. But you'll find out the rest of my thoughts in my review. So, not spoiling that one. This one is a movie I've already given a rating for, so I'm not going to go too in-depth with. But this was also a movie that was a patron-requested review by Kelly Farrell, Hatchet. Now, I had gotten the digital versions of this trilogy right before I was going to do that review. That's like I said in my review, it was funny timing that I chose to check out this trilogy right when she requested it, but this was like $8 on Amazon, so I went ahead and just bought it. Really cool little slasher movie. Check out my full review for it, but basically for the price that this was, it was to go out and buy it. If you're a slasher fan, you're going to like this. If you're not a slasher fan, it's not for you at all, so know who you are. This one is a classic in horror that I have never seen. And I wish I had seen it before I did this video, but I haven't had a chance to yet. But I finally picked it up. I got the Scream Factory release with this awesome cover art here. And all I know about this movie is that it's got some kind of a zombie that's covered in tar. I don't know what they call them, tar face or something like that. But Return of the Living Dead. People rave about this movie in the horror, kind of horror scene and on killer flicks and everything. I've never seen it. I'm not really big into the classic zombie movies like the Romero movies and this. I've been much more of a modern zombie fan. I know that's sacrilege, but I just am. So I'm curious if I'm going to like this or not, but I have picked it up, so keep an eye out for my opinions on this, especially if you're on killer flicks. I'll probably post something on there. Now these movies just came out, and I bought these for my girlfriend Holly because she is a Disney obsessor, fanatic. Disney is her life. I got The Lion King Steelbook, the 10,000th release that they've done of this movie, and The Lion King 2, which I've always thought was a really good movie. People don't talk about it, but when I was a kid, there was parts of Lion King 2 that I actually preferred to the original. So what more can you say about The Lion King? Yes, it's a go out and buy it. It's a classic Disney movie. It's probably their most famous, most iconic movie of all time. It's got freaking Broadway galore. I mean, they're doing the live action now with Jon Favreau, which I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with that because Jungle Book was really good. But this was a really good release to get because you know how it is with Disney. They release something and then it's gone and then you don't see it again for about 3 or 4 years. So I nabbed it while the getting was good, and now it's another part of my massive Disney collection. So, got it. Now let's move on to some 4K double dips. And yes, that's what they are. I'll just be honest and call it what they are. Let's start with this one. Now, these are movies that I enjoy. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of them, except for the first one, which I absolutely love, which tends to be people's least favorite in this franchise, which I don't understand at all. But this 3-pack was like 20 bucks at Walmart, so you're damn right I bought it. For 4K, 3 movies for 20 bucks, can't beat it. The Expendables 1, 2, and 3. Now, this is basically Sylvester Stallone's franchise where he gets all of the 80s and 90s action stars together into like this big mashup movie where they're basically this team of mercenaries going to take down terrorists. Most of them are in the actual team, the Expendables. Some of those classic action heroes are the villains like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Mel Gibson. And the first movie, The Expendables, although I do like the director's cut much more, which unfortunately isn't on this, which is going to be something we're going to have to deal with this 4K shit. They're not going to put any of the unrated or director's cuts on there until a year or two in, which is a pain in the ass. But anyway, The Expendables, the first one, I thought was a damn good action movie. Very throwback, very classic action aspects to it. It had that 80s, 90s feel to it. I loved all the characters, the back and forth between the team. So many great action set pieces back to back to back. And that's the one that Sylvester Stallone directed. So I attribute a lot of that to him. This was his passion project for a long time. This was his baby. This was something that people were anticipating and talking about for years. And I think the first one's awesome. The first one's to go out and buy it. The second one, huge step down for me. Some people say that's the best one. I could not disagree more. This is the one that's got Chuck Norris and it's got Jean-Claude Van Damme as the villain. Jean-Claude was awesome. The first part where he's first introduced and the fight between him and Sylvester Stallone, awesome. There's some pretty good action throughout, but this movie is neutered because Chuck Norris got into this and part of his clause was, if you're gonna put me in this movie, no cussing. And that is horse shit. Yes, I said it, Chuck. Horse shit. I don't care how many jokes you have about how awesome you are, you neutered the fuck out of this movie for a stupid scene too. The scene where Chuck Norris comes in, and I'm not a gigantic classic Chuck Norris fan. Maybe if you're a huge fan of his old action movies, it's awesome to you. To me, it was so stupid. It even references the whole Chuck Norris joke thing. So the second one, I'm not a fan of. I'd say skip that one. The third one is weird because there's aspects of the third one that is so amazing that it's ridiculous that it's in The Expendables 3 and not some Oscar caliber movie. And then there's things in Expendables 3 that just make you go, why the hell would you do that? Because basically what they do, the awesome part is Mel Gibson, because this is still when Mel Gibson was pretty much unheard of. He was in Hollywood jail. He still kind of is, but he's working his way out now. But he's in here as the villain, given an Oscar caliber performance. Every single scene he's in, he is going for broke. And you're like, dude, do you realize what movie you're in? You're like bringing it all. So that was awesome. Still some really cool action sequences in this. Some of the characters like Jet Li and a couple others kind of get tossed to the background. Antonio Banderas is actually pretty awesome in this. He's hilarious, just begging for a job basically. But the aspect of 3 that really sucks is about a third of the way into the movie, all of the older guys go into the background and they bring in this young team like Ronda Rousey and some other young actors, and it totally defeats the purpose of the movie. Why would you do that? Whoever the hell wrote this movie, and I don't even know if it was Sylvester Stallone, it might have been, but I don't know why you would do that, because the whole point of The Expendables is to see these old classic action heroes that we love teaming up and kicking ass. We don't want to see Ronda Rousey and, you know, young fucking college dorm guy A and B going out to try and shoot people. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's a see it on Netflix for me. There's aspects that I love, there's aspects that I hate. Still a mildly enjoyable movie, but for 20 bucks, the whole thing was worth it. That was a lot of discussion about The Expendables. Now, you've got what would have been my pick of the month, but also this movie has been talked about so much that I actually want to give more attention to Batman. That's Goodfellas. Now, what more can you say about Goodfellas? The best mob movie ever made. Probably Martin Scorsese's greatest movie. Probably one of Ray Liotta and Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci's best performances, all three of them, especially Ray Liotta. This is the movie that kind of made him and the movie he's known for. I can't say anything else about it. If you have not seen this, you need to stop watching this video and go watch Goodfellas. This is a good, cheap little 4K that I got. The reason why I bought it. I'm nervous about whether or not it's actually going to be that much better than the Blu-ray, because it seems like something they just kind of threw the 4K sleeve on and called it a 4K revisit, but we'll see. But the movie itself is a go out and buy it all day long. Absolutely love that movie. In my top 5 movies of all time. This one is a movie I've not seen in years, but it was also a cheap 4K buy over at Walmart. So I'm curious to check this one out. King Kong, the Peter Jackson one, the Ultimate Edition. I was a fan of aspects of this movie. I wasn't a fan of aspects of this movie when it first came out, but to be honest, I wasn't all that interested in the movie to begin with, so it was kind of like a half-assed watch. I'm looking forward to giving this an honest watch because everybody loves this movie, it seems like, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. Don't have a rating for it. And I don't have a rating for this one too, and don't shoot me, because this is a classic that I have bought before but have never seen, so I rebought it on the 4K because they finally dropped it. It was like $42 for the longest time, which, hell no. Not even for my favorite movie of all time would I pay that. And they dropped it down to like 18 bucks, so I snagged it really quick, and that is Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. Supposedly this is his best movie, this is his big comeback, this is the greatest Western of all time. I hear all of those things tossed around about this movie. Have not had a chance to see it yet, but now that I bought this, I look forward to checking it out. I love picking up classic movies that everybody loves that I have not had a chance to see yet. So this is gonna be on my to-watch list towards the top for a while now. Now I have 3 new releases this month, and then we are out of here. First one is a movie that I have my full review up for, so you can check out all of my thoughts on it. I actually have 2. I have a spoiler talk with Durbin from Durbania, and I have a spoiler-free review by myself, and that is Alien Covenant. Now, this was probably one of my most anticipated movies of the summer, and definitely one of my most disappointing movies of the summer. If you were a fan of Prometheus, you're gonna love this. If you're a fan of the first Alien, there's scenes you're gonna like, but if you don't like Prometheus, this is not for you. They call it Alien Covenant. They put the fucking xenomorph on the cover. They put the xenomorph in all the trailers. They hide all the Prometheus shit because they know nobody wants to see it. Then you get in the theater or you buy the Blu-ray and it's basically Prometheus 2. So it was one of the worst bait and switches I've ever seen in marketing, and they knew it. And the way that you could tell that people were baited and switched is because after the first week this movie came out, the word got out about what this movie actually was about, and their box office took a gigantic nosedive for this movie. So I don't think they're going to continue with this. Ridley Scott had like 2 more movies planned, and he was honestly just handcuffing this franchise because he didn't want anybody else to do it. And I think they found out the hard way that they should have just went ahead and did that Neil Blomkamp Alien sequel that we all would have preferred, to be honest with you. But there's aspects of this movie I like. Some of the things as far as the horror aspects that they get back to, some of the Alien, the first Ridley Scott aspects they get back to, I enjoy. The Prometheus, you know, philosophical exploration of life shit, I just don't get into it very much. I don't hate it, but I just don't want it in my Alien movie. And I really don't even acknowledge Prometheus and this as the true canon prequel to Alien, because they just overcomplicate everything so much that it's like, no, that's not how the xenomorphs were made. That's not my envision of how it made, so sorry Ridley Scott, I'm not on board for that. I will say see it on Netflix, even though I'm bitching about it a lot, it's just because I'm still disappointed about this. Check out my full review for it. There are some positives about it, but much more negative than positive, unfortunately. Then you got a movie that I seem like I was the only big fan of this movie, and I was actually surprised. I thought that this movie was going to get a lot better reception than it got. I wasn't surprised that it tanked at the box office though, and holy shit did it tank. That's King Arthur Legend of the Sword. I really enjoyed this. I got to go see this at an early screening, like 3 weeks before release, and I had a blast with this movie. I'm not a big sword and sandals fantasy guy. I really like Charlie Hunnam. I'm not even a big Guy Ritchie fan, but I think all those elements kind of put together, I had a fun time with this movie. I haven't rewatched it yet, so I don't know if that was just maybe first impressions, but I thought this was a fun movie. I thought it was stylistic. I thought it was enjoyable. Definitely too much CGI here and there. They definitely skate past some of the important storyline, which is kind of a negative, kind of fringe benefit somewhat of the way that Guy Ritchie's style is. It kind of quickens through storyline. You see about 7 different people tell this story. So I enjoyed this. I'll say see it on Netflix if you're unsure about it, but for me, this was a go out and buy it. I actually gave this a see it in theaters full price whenever it was in theaters, so it was worth my money to go out and buy it. But what do you think? Put down in the comment section below. And the last one is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is the first Marvel and Disney 4K release. So finally, we'll start to get some Marvel movies and some Disney movies on 4K. That's awesome. And possibly Star Wars too. That'd be awesome. But basically, this was the other most disappointing movie of the summer to me. I enjoyed it more than Alien Covenant. A lot more. And I still enjoyed this movie overall. I look forward to revisiting it now that I kind of know what to expect. But they really turned on the humor, which was a little bit too much for me. They really cranked up the 80s references, which seemed like it was forced to me. And above all, you could tell that James Gunn had a lot more control over this one, because James Gunn, if you know his movies, his storyline, his writing, they tend to be very dark and very hopeless and very mean-spirited and cruel, and all of that is in here, and it just feels so weird from the first movie, which was this very fun, lighthearted, uplifting movie about teamwork and family and meeting people who you have no reason to like, but you band together and you know, your family and all that. And this one, it was just like everybody was insulting each other, everybody was just cutting into each other as deep as they possibly could get. Every single time there was a line of dialogue. They have scenes where like the whole crew of the Ravagers get jettisoned out into space and suffocated right in front of Yondu. Yondu was awesome. He was my biggest positive of the movie, but the way they wrapped his storyline at the end of the movie, I didn't really care for. I felt like it was so rushed and out of nowhere. The way that things turned out with Ego the Living Planet, played by Kurt Russell, was not what I was hoping for with that character. I was really picturing the classic, like, 80s Kurt Russell personality and banter and quick wit battling out with Chris Pratt's personality and quick wit throughout the movie, and that's not really the relationship that they had. So I was a little let down by the way that they used that character too. Like a full review up for this if you want to check out all my thoughts, but to me this was just not nearly as good as the first movie. Still a very enjoyable movie. I mean, there's not a single Marvel movie that I haven't liked. You know, this one, it was just a very disappointing movie because the first Guardians of the Galaxy is my second favorite MCU movie ever. So I would say check this out on Netflix just to check it out, because I think that's a really enjoyable movie in aspects of it. The charm and the fun of the first one's still there, but all the new elements and all the things that they did to really kind of pump up the storyline without giving you near as much storyline in this, especially like regarding the Gold People villains. Just a disappointing sequel to me overall, but I look forward to revisiting it. Maybe I'll like it more. But that's it, people. That is all of the Blu-rays I got over this past month. So like I said, if you're looking forward to getting some of these movies for your collection, click some of these Amazon affiliate links I have down below. It'll take you right to the Amazon page for each of these, and it's a great way to support this channel. Please like and share this video, guys, and hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. If you want to check out my social media links, I got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter down below, including my Patreon page, which is another great way to support this channel and get cool exclusive content for your eyes only. So check that out, guys, and if you want to check out some more of my videos, you can check out a few more by clicking right over here.